Thursday, which is kind of going on the technology theme. I've talked about Blade Runner, I've talked about Her, I've talked about many different technology films, the idea of androids and so forth, but this is a cartoon by Disney called WALL-E. And WALL-E is from 2008, is an animated romantic science fiction film. And the idea is the film follows a solitary robot named WALL-E in the future, in uninhabitable deserted Earth in 2008 to 805. Left to clean up garbage. He is visited by a robot called Eve, sent from a starship Axiom, with whom he falls in love and purchases across the galaxy. Now, with the idea of this film incorporates consumerism, corporate nostalgia, waste management, human environmental impact, and also concerns about obesity, sedentary lifestyles, and global catastrophic risk. At the time when this was released, it was massively popular. In fact, it was one of the biggest Disney grossing films at the time. So the plot of this, and why I think is interesting, because it's also good to show children this as well, and I think it's got a very deeper meaning than just being a children's film. It's got a very philosophical idea of what the future can be if we are become too reliant on AI and robots. So in 29th century Earth is a garbage-strewn wasteland due to ecocide caused by rampant consumerism, corporate greed and environmental neglect. Humanity is nowhere to be seen, having been evacuated from the mega corporation by and large to space on giant starliners, leaving trash compacting robots to clean up the planet 700 years prior. All the robots on Earth have since stopped functioning, and the last remaining active is WALL-E, which is a waste allocation load filler, load lifter, Earth class. That's where the WALL-E as well is. In England, we call a WALL-E an idiot. So it's sort of, again, this is this sort of persecution of the AI, that AI is sort of a juxtaposition on the idea of AI being intelligent by calling it not. So in this, one day, while WALL-E remains salvaging parts from other inactive robots, and this with his pet cockroach as his only companion in a large robot carrier truck. One day, WALL-E's routine of compressing trash and collecting interesting objects is broken by the arrival of an unmanned robot probe carrying an egg-shaped robot called an extraterrestrial vegetation evaluator, Eve, and which is to scan the planet for signs of soluble life. WALL-E is smitten by the sleek otherworldly robot, and the two. When WALL-E shows her his most recent find, a live seedling, the probe ship eventually returns and collects Eve and the plant, with WALL-E clinging on in fear of losing her. The probe ship then returns to its mothership, the starliner Axiom. In the century since the Axiom left the Earth, its passengers have degenerated into a helpless obesity due to microgravity and laziness, with robots catering to their every whim. Even Captain B. McCree is used to sitting back while his robotic AI autopilot them. Nicknamed Auto, pilots the ship. McCree is unprepared to receive the positive probe response, but discovers that placing the planet in the ship's holodetector will trigger a hyperjump back to Earth so that humanity can begin recolonisation. So when McCree inspects Eve's storage compartment, the plant is missing, with Eve blaming WALL-E for its disappearance. Eve is deemed faulty and taken to the diagnostics, mistaking the process for torture. WALL-E intervenes and inadvertently releases all the other faulty bots, causing him and Eve to be designated as rogue robots. Frustrated, Eve tries to send WALL-E home in an escape pod, but before she can, the two witness McCree's first male robot make go for, stowing the plant in a pod set to self-destruct, revealing that WALL-E did not steal the plant. WALL-E enters the pod to retrieve the plant just as it launches, but both he and the plant survive unscathed. Eve catches up to him, and there's quite a lot of depth to it for like a children's film. So Eve brings the plant to McCree, who watches the recordings of Earth, concluding that they can and must save Earth. And this is the issue then, is that people then, do they really want to save anything? Do they want to change? Do they want to revitalise the Earth? And within all of this, the actual robots get together, and they actually then go, humans and robots turn the ravaged planet into a paradise, and the plant grows into a mighty tree, which WALL-E and Eve rest beneath. So what in this whole thing is, what we learn is that the Earth is worth saving. There's a planetary negligence what is going on, and we need to understand that. Why this film I think is excellent, and why it was so received so well, was because it was done so many times before, but they never got it right. And for some reason, this film really was emotional. It had a lot of ideas which was kind of very interesting, especially about the nostalgia, about the idea of what the Earth could have been, where it should have done. And so the idea again is like the actual person who wrote this film didn't want it to be a social criticism about the solid waste. What they were trying to do was trying to show the difference of how the Earth could clean itself, and instead of relying on robots to do it, we should be more responsible in the way we are. And in the end, what this film is teaching people is that we have to understand for growth and so forth is the rubbish and all the stuff we do is we create problems. Now, as a hypnotherapist, why would this interest me? Well, for a start, in the human mind, we have a lot of rubbish. We have a lot of unnecessary information which stops us getting to what we want to do. And the idea is if we want to grow as humans, mentally, physically, emotionally, we need to dump and get rid of stuff which holds us back. Now, how do we do that? Well, we look at reframing. When we go into hypnosis, we go into what things cause us to act and become causes self-sabotage, and we remove that by reframing. So robots can do this all the time. They're going to be able to perfect this, but humans can't, because the mind's psyche is so powerful that it dictates everything. So the subconscious, they claim, is only 5% of the mind, but it dictates 95% of everything we do. So the idea of this is that if we understand that we can remove the problems which make us upset, trigger us or so forth, that means once we remove that, we can then progress in our lives. And it's why I don't like the idea of when people say, I'm triggered in the social media space, is that to say you're triggered is actually a negative. The idea is that you shouldn't be triggered, and the idea is you should be able to evolve from that. So this film actually pushes that, and I think it was really good as a cartoon, but it seems a lot of that generation didn't learn enough from it. And if actually a lot of the generation of these university students learn and watch that film, they would notice certain things and see the parallels of how they behave. Or not, because some of these people are brainwashed by stupid academics. But anyway, that's the concept of it. So anyway, if you are interested in my work and hopefully trying to get all the rubbish out of your mind and re-clean your mind so you can actually flourish as a human being and evolve and progress, please come to my website, which is www.richclark.net. If not, please message me here and I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. Thank you very much.